Hi everybody, and welcome to a quick video that I wanted to make. This was something that I was testing since before I went to get some rest this morning. It is the VEILED THORN. Now, I was testing this and I was getting inconsistent results, but someone else brought this up on the bug reports section on the stove page. So I decided to hop in and explain some of the stuff that I was doing, some of the testing that was going on, and things that I was finding out as I was testing, and some of it was incorrect, just like weird, sort of results that would happen, and then I would continue testing to refine it and figure out like, oh, this was a one-off thing, stuff like that. When you test things, like sometimes there's like a result, an unexpected result. That's why you have to test multiple times to make sure it's consistent. But regardless, this item, it doesn't work the way that it reads. So if allies do not receive damage for one turn, then at the start of the next turn, increase damage amount by 50% for one turn. So the way that you read this, the way that I read this, and I'm sure a lot of you read this as well, is like you probably want to have like big shields or have a lot of morale down to prevent taking any damage. That way you can activate this on the next turn and, deal significant damage. It turns out that's not how this item works at all. I've done multiple tests, and from what I found out from all these tests that I've been doing is that it's still a bit weird. So this is a cloud shoes situation. Shout out to that video way back. The allies that it refers to is the enemies. So the way that this should be reading is that if enemies do not receive damage for one turn, then at the start of the next turn, increase damage amount by 50%. This is multiplicative. And it is for the next turn. So the way that this works is kind of just the opposite of how you would think about it. So if you deal 0 damage, like with the I forget what it's called, the shield slam that Maribel has, and you don't have any shield, it just does 0 damage, or you get curiosity zeroed on, or you don't break the shield, so you don't actually deal any damage because the enemy has a big bulky shield. So you don't deal damage, but you deal damage to the shield. So those two seem to work. Like, it'll let the effect trigger. The other way that it also triggers is obviously you just don't attack. They don't take damage if you just don't attack. So those are the 3 ways that it seems to proc. So if enemies don't take damage, so you don't break their shield, you just deal 0 damage on hit, perhaps if they have increased fortitude, or you just skip your turn, just don't attack, or you're setting up. Those work. Now, a couple of the weird inconsistencies that was happening was whenever I would kill ads in like a boss fight, there's bosses with ads in them. Basically, those ads, as long as I didn't kill them with an attack card, so counterattacks, coordinated attacks. I don't have Veronica and stuff, so I can't test if the ballistas work. I don't believe the ballistas work. I think it has to be any source of non-attack card. If it kills an ad, for some reason, that doesn't disable this item. But that could need more testing as well. Because it could be some weird factor with this next thing, which is if you break the shield, that doesn't seem to disable this item either. So if an enemy has a shield, normally you hit the shield number goes down, and then that counts as not dealing damage. But if you break the shield with an attack, you'll deal damage to them it goes through the shield, but as long as you don't do any other attacks after breaking the shield, for some reason it counts as, I guess it counts as like you were attacking the shield, so it doesn't register that it actually went through the shield. And I think that's why it doesn't disable this item. So those are the two sort of exceptions. It's most likely the second one is like the only exception. That's probably like some sort of like coding error thing. It's probably supposed to register like you breaking the shield, that it's supposed to disable the item, but it could be like there could be some weird stuff like if you deal exact damage to the shield, then it breaks, so they don't want it to trigger and count it as like damage. I don't know. There could be some. It depends on how it's like all coded. That it could be like some weird thing on there. But from what I've tested, an attack that breaks the shield, as long as you don't do anything else afterwards to deal damage, that'll keep this item active. So why do I even have the other thing on here? So there's a refinement called if damage 3 card was not dealt to an enemy for 1 turn, at the start of the next turn, increase damage amount by 50% for 1 turn. So the way that this reads, you would assume, is if you use an attack card or any sort of card that deals damage, and as long as that damage doesn't deal damage to the enemy, then you get a 50% damage bonus. I said damage a lot there, but I think you understand what I was trying to get at. So I was testing this with like curiosity stuff. I was trying to go against shields. It was a very weird one. I really wish that these buffs, whenever they would activate, were actual buffs that you could check on your character. You know how you can check for the buffs when you're clicking like below the portraits? I really wish they showed up on there. You can only tell if these activate in the battle log. But it was also it was very weird when I was testing. It was sort of inconsistent, probably because the only instance of this one I have is on my harpoon case, and every odd turn it would only show the creation of the Pierce card, and it wouldn't actually show the double activation of the other effect, the Refinement effect on it. So that's on me. That's why this was very weird when I was like testing it. It felt very inconsistent. But regardless of that, the way that this works is the exact same as I just explained. It has the exact same triggers from what I've tested as Veiled Thorn. So what these two should read, Veiled Thorn and then the Refinement effect here, they should just read the exact same. If enemies do not receive damage for 1 turn, then at the start of the next turn, increase damage amount by 50% for 1 turn. Which is very weird that we have a Refinement effect that's the exact same as a seasonal weapon. Because I don't know. It's weird. So it's like stackable, you know? It's very odd. But that's just me. But regardless of being able to stack abilities, which is possible, that'll be out. I'll have that out. Because normally you can't get a Refinement effect or like a you can't get what is it called? The God's Hammer effect on it from an item that someone is equipped with. There's a way to bypass that. If you're super lucky, you're able to stack it. But that's for another video. That's off topic. Basically, what I wanted to point out is that the Veiled Thorn and this Refinement effect, they act the same, and they're both translated wrong. So I have the translation here again. I will let you guys know about this. I'm also gonna make a bug report probably, just to spread more awareness. But huge shout out to this guy that he brought the attention to this, and actually he brought the attention to me as well, because I was gonna go back into testing. I got up after some sleep and I saw he posted or they posted this, and I was like, you know what, that might be why I was only activating like half of the time I was testing this thing. because I was under the impression of testing it as like a blocking tool, like block for counterattacks and stuff, but it seems like that is not the case. So, I hope this was helpful. It's a bit of a longer one. I couldn't really make this into a short unless I cut out a lot of information, so I wanted to put this out as like a more longer form video to really explain like what's going on here and the utility of it. So, I do think this is a good effect. You just have to put it in with the right characters, which I'm not going to go into the whole team building stuff about this, but these two effects, now that we understand how they work, we know which characters to put them on, and I think they can be very strong. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all when I see you next time. Bye-bye!